The media asked Joel Greenberg's attorney, this is a close associate of Matt Gaetz, whether Gaetz had anything to worry about given the facts that he knows about the case. Now, Joel Greenberg was a tax collector in the state of Florida. He was being investigated by the Department of Justice. Federal prosecutors were looking into sex trafficking charges that he was accused of. And in the process of that investigation, the Justice Department expanded its research into Matt Gaetz because apparently they came across something indicating that he had possibly paid for the travel of a minor, a 17-year-old, in order to have a sexual relationship with her. Once you do that, it triggers federal age of consent laws, and on a federal level, the age of consent is 18. So this is a serious accusation against Matt Gaetz. And so the reporters wanted to ask Joel Greenberg's attorney, is Matt Gaetz in a lot of trouble? And to be honest with you, this is not looking good for Gaetz. Take a look.
Does Matt Gaetz have anything to worry about?
Does Matt Gaetz? That is such a.
When it comes to what happened today in court,
does he have anything to worry about? And you're asking me to get into the mind of Matt Gaetz, right? And
well, from your mind,
from my mind,
based on what your client knows.
Based on what my client knows, okay. See, I thought if I kept on talking, I would avoid these questions and not to say, I'm sure Matt Gaetz is not feeling very comfortable today, all right?
Now, that video alone is one thing, but let me put it in further context so you guys understand how serious this is. Greenberg is cooperating with the feds. And he is expected to take a plea deal very soon. So if he has any dirt on Matt Gaetz, that dirt will certainly be disclosed to federal prosecutors. One other negative sign for Matt Gaetz is that the relationship between the defense attorney and the prosecutors seem to be pretty chummy, and that's not my word, that's what was reported by Politico. They report that a chummy, relaxed atmosphere prevailed between prosecutors and Greenberg's attorney prior to the hearing, with lawyers for both sides at one point moving to a corner of the courtroom to confer outside the earshot of journalists sitting in the gallery. So we'll see how it plays out, but we're getting more of a feel regarding the trouble that Matt Gaetz is really in.
Yeah, so that was hilarious, the clip. Matt Gaetz, you said? That's Gaetz, Matty Gaetz. What do I say about that? Okay, dude, just say you don't know and move on. That was a hilarious moment. Anyways, look, let me tell you one other reason why Matt Gaetz is in massive trouble right now. Because yeah, his buddy, who by the way, apparently sometimes, maybe oftentimes, according to the press reports, they used to have the same girlfriend, okay? So when that guy turns evidence on you, you're already toast. But then the second layer of that is, that means they definitely did it. Because Greenberg is saying, turning evidence means we did it, I'm cooperating with you, you were right, okay? So, no, that looks bad. Matt Gaetz is in a world of trouble. I mean, look, he knew all this. That's why he asked Trump for the preemptive pardon before he left office. And of course, Trump being the knucklehead that he is, he had to be apparently tackled to the ground a couple of days ago when he was thinking of going and defending Matt Gaetz publicly. They're like, no, you're already on the record as defending other child molesters like Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, I hope she's doing well. What?
That's what Trump said on 2 different occasions when he was asked, right? So by the way, we used to make fun of QAnon. I mean, the idea of the top leaders in a political party in America would be child sex traffickers. Now all of a sudden we got Matt Gaetz, we got Trump defending Ghislaine Maxwell, thinking about defending Matt Gaetz. Maybe they just had the wrong party.
Yeah, it's just, honestly, while you were talking, Cenk, I couldn't help but think of former Democratic lawmaker Eliot Spitzer, and how he was forced to resign after it was disclosed that he had paid for an escort, essentially. And he was targeted specifically because he was pretty much a wolf on bankers and corporations when he was a lawmaker. So he was specifically targeted for those reasons. And look, I think that prostitution, I should say sex work should be legalized and regulated. In the case of Matt Gaetz, though, the situation is worse because we're talking about a 17-year-old and he's in his late 30s. This does break a federal law. So we don't know what the evidence is yet. We don't know those details. Obviously, we're waiting to find out, but there are some people, Cenk, that are willing to defend Matt Gaetz. I think it's worth mentioning that, to be fair. It's just that they won't list their names in their defense. So there was a statement that came out by his female staffers. And as the statement reads, Gaetz has always been a principled and morally grounded leader. At no time has any one of us experienced or witnessed any less than the utmost professionalism and respect, no hint of impropriety, no ounce of untruthfulness. But as The Hill reports, the statement was not signed by any staffers, and it did not specify how many women in Gaetz's office had signed off on it. It was signed by the women of the office of US Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Absurd. It's absurd. You can't say, I mean, that's like some PR version of mansplaining that I've never seen before. The women of my office really like me. I mean, none of them will say it on the record. None of them will publicly admit to respecting me. So I'll send out an anonymous letter and hope that you believe me that the women of my office who are mortally ashamed of me are publicly supporting me. Okay, if you say so, does seem a bit counterproductive. And finally, last I heard, he was about to speak to a women's group in the Republican Party, right? Like he was invited to speak. Look, to be fair to the group, I'm sure he was invited before they found out that he was probably likely to be charged as a child sex trafficker, right? But they hadn't canceled until like, I don't know if it's still ongoing or not, but last I checked, they're like, oh yeah, come on in, tell us about women.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Man, Republicans are nuts.
And I want to also make one clarification, just so we're 100% accurate in talking about this. As far as we know, the DOJ hasn't officially charged him of any crime yet, but it does appear that their investigation has expanded. It becomes more and more serious by the day. So as soon as he is charged, we'll let you guys know about it. But we did ask you a poll question about what's likely to happen to Matt Gaetz. Ryan Grimm was on the show with me, and his prediction is that since he's a representative from the Panhandle, who by the way is refusing to step down, it's unlikely that he'll actually suffer any real consequences for this. But a pretty significant percentage of you so far in this poll, and you still have time to participate if you'd like, think that there will be some consequences. So 35% of you voted already and said yes, there will be consequences. He'll lose his job as a congressman, and 65% of you said no. I'm curious how the poll results will change given this new information. So take part in that poll if you'd like to. We'd love to hear what you think about it.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.